It is our pleasure to welcome back to the show a familiar face, our former Cougar linebacker, our BYUtv colleague, co-host of After Further Review, and BYU SportsNation GameDay, also a Little League head football coach who stepped away from practice for a couple of moments to join us tonight. David Nixon, welcome back to the Wise Guys.
Hey, long time no see, guys. It's been a hot minute.
Yeah, it has been a hot minute.
It's been a couple hours. Do you have, like, so Dennis Pitta came on from his car, and he was perfectly stable the whole time. We're thinking that Pitta must have had a clip or something in his car to be able to hold his phone in a perfect spot. Do you have a clip in your car, or do you just have perfect steady arm?
I've got a perfect steady arm rested on my armrest right here. So we're going to see. I think I can beat Pitta, though. I think I can be more stable.
You're going to be more stable than Dennis. Pitta. All right.
Hey, Joseph Strain on our live stream says, first time watching tonight. My wife watches all the time. So thankfully, Joseph, you listened to your wife and have joined us here on the Wise Guys. Nix, you've had a couple of days to think about it. What are your highs and lows from that season opener?
Oh, man. For me, the highs, obviously the defense. But, for me, it was just the fact to see guys playing downhill again. For the past few years, the scheme was more of a read, make sure you got the right read and then react. And so it was almost a pause. They wanted the backers to pause. This was complete opposite. This was read, and you take your first read and you are downhill and you're screaming to the ball. And, we teach our young guys the same thing. Hey, if you're going to be wrong, just do it fast. And I feel like that was kind of the motto for these guys. They weren't wrong a lot, on Saturday night, but they were playing so fast. I'm telling you, when you play fast, it makes up for so many errors or guys maybe that are wrong because everyone's flying around. And when you can go disrupt the offense, we can go hit the running back in the backfield, and it allows everyone else to rally. I mean, it's just huge. And there were times where guys were in the wrong gaps. There were times where the defensive end kind of poked inside and the back got outside. But then you had a DB flying up and knocking the pins out and knocking his legs out. And so I love the defense. Now, granted, we take everything with a grain of salt. It was Sam Houston.
Right.
And frankly, I don't know if they're going to be tested this week in Southern Utah either. But I just love the mentality. You could tell the approach. The ugly for me, obviously the offense struggled. But the part that I was really disappointed with was just running the ball. The fact that, when you go back and watch the film, they started off well in that first drive. There's a nice little surge. The offensive line had a good little push going. But then after that, Sam Houston's defense, getting credit to them, the front seven, man, they really just stiffened up. And BYU's offensive line could not get a push. And that was obviously the result with the running game struggling as much as it did. And so, that's something that obviously they're addressing right now. And I was texting with Harvey, and Harvey was saying, listen, we're going to get our backs going. Like we start slow, but we've got our guys ready and they'll be prepared. So I'm excited to see what team rolls out on Saturday. I think the BYU offense has been probably a little humbled a little bit. And I think that they come out with a little chip on their shoulder and try to show their true colors.
Nix, we were talking about this earlier today. This is the first shutout the Cougars have had in 9 years. And Dave and I just, documented to the people on the chat and watching us here live that only 5 teams in football this opening weekend pitched shutouts. It's more rare than people think.
Yeah.
What's your thought on the fact that first time in 9 years for BYU a shutout, and how important is it that they're able to manage points as they move forward this season?
So it's funny. Shutouts typically happen. It's tough to get shutouts because usually the offense is scoring points. And so usually you let your second and third stringers in at the end of the game, and all of a sudden a garbage touchdown or a garbage field goal gets added on, so you miss out on the shutout. This is a unique game where the offense couldn't put up points, and so the starters had to stay out there the entire game. But I think that's the key. The key for me also, one of the biggest takeaways from this defense was the fact that the starters played the entire game. Previous schemes, the previous defense that BYU had, they loved to do those hockey wholesale line changes where they would sub out, honestly, 11 at a time sometimes, or at least the front 7. And Jay Hill came and said, listen, that's not – our best players will be on the field and they will play the entire game. And I absolutely love that because that's how it was when I played there, right? I mean, the best players play, and you just got to be well-conditioned enough to last the whole game. And that's what I love seeing out there. Ben Bywater, I mean, I don't know if he missed a play. He played almost the entire game. They do sub in Max Tooley, who had a great game as well. But I love the fact that this defense, the starters got valuable reps. The fact they were able to pitch a shutout, I think that's something you obviously go and hang your hat on. But that was an impressive effort, no question. I mean, that defense, I'm telling you, especially with the punt, the special teams there, the fact that the defense went out there and stiffened up, even after a bad pass interference call, and right there on the goal line, they were able to stiffen up and not allow a touchdown. That's impressive, and that's something that they can point to as the season progresses and say, guys, you remember the same Houston game? We stiffened up. We were put in a really crappy spot. We stiffened up and created a turnover. Let's go do it again.
Ben Bywater, as you mentioned, and Thule, they headlined the linebackers. They combined for 18 tackles, the two of them. They're back healthy now. Both had off-season surgery. They got to stay healthy, and A.J. Vongpachong in there as well, and Glasker and some of the others. But those linebackers, from a resident linebacker that you were, when healthy, they're capable of winning in this league.
Yeah, and there's some plays in that game against Houston where Thule didn't get credit with the tackle. But there was one play we broke down in AFR today where he swallowed up 2 blocks and he held the edge all at the same time. And that's what these backers bring to the table, including, like you said, AJ and Max. They're big, they're fast, they're strong. And I would agree. I think at the end of the season, I'd be shocked if not one of them was first team All Big 12, just because they're so athletic and they move so well. I was talking with Brian Kill about this the other day, how the game of football has changed so much over the years. You know, when I played, even in the NFL, 240, 245, 250 linebacker was kind of the norm. And now the norm is Fred Warner, who's, 235, 240, but the kid can just flat out run. Yeah. And that's the game of football. When you go against these spread offenses, you've got to have backers that can run side to sideline. And that's what BYU can do. Even AJ, I mean, I think it was the second play of the game. He came all the way from the opposite side of the field on a pursuit and about ripped off the running back's head on a tackle. And that's this linebacker core. They're just violent and they run really well. And we also see them back in pass coverage. These guys can cover a lot of ground on the back end as well. So I love this linebacker group. What they do is they make that defensive line right. And that defensive line, you were mentioning it, Blaine, coming into it. Only 1 sack. I would have loved. They had a lot of opportunities and they just didn't get home. I would love to see that go up as well. And I agree, 3 to 4 sacks, I think, against Southern Utah should be one of their goals. But the linebackers, they're gonna have a lot of attention on them for the opposing teams, which is going to allow some one-on-ones for those defensive lines. They've got to be ready and prepared to get after the quarterback. But that front seven, when they start clicking, especially that D-line, when they start clicking, man, it's going to be a dangerous, dangerous defense.
Former BYU linebacker, BYUtv football analyst Dave Nixon's on the Wise Guys, live on YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, and wiseguys.com. We love that we get to work with Dave every week on multiple shows. But you talk about the D-line. That's secondary. I don't know whether I was I was surprised or not. I expected the corners to be good, but they were really good. And I wasn't sure about the safeties. That was my big question mark. And you really don't even think about the safeties. And when you think about safeties, it's when big plays are going over the top or they're missing tackles. What's your overall impression of that back end of BYU's defense in this game?
I'll tell you what, I mean, obviously the interceptions is really exciting and the batted balls and the way they're able to, defend on the back end. But honestly, for me, and maybe because I'm a linebacker, for me, the most exciting part was watching those guys come up in the flats and just take out the wide receivers. In fact, there was one I was going to cover on AFR today. It was a screen pass, similar to what BYU does, where they bring the wide receiver running behind the line of scrimmage all the way down the width of the field. And Jacob Robinson read it from the get-go and met the receiver at the spot he was going to and just drilled him right in the legs and knocked him for no gain. And that's what got me excited, was seeing these guys come up and hit. Because typically corners, they don't love to hit. They're usually kind of pretty boys. They like to just defend on the back end. But I tell you what, this year, these guys are thumpers. And that sets the tone for a defense as well. When I look outside and see my corner go out there and lay in the wood, man, there's nothing that gets me more excited than watching him do that. And so I guarantee that's what's happening with this team as well. And you wouldn't expect it, right? Jacob Robinson's one of the smallest guys. But it goes to show you that you don't, if you get the right reads and you have the right technique and right form, you don't have to be 210 as a corner to go knock somebody down. You just aim at the right part of the body, and you just bring him down. So I love that. Of course, the coverage part of it, the reads and the fact that these guys are so experienced. Once again, Eddie Heckard has played in this defense, so he knows exactly what Jay Hill's calling and why he's calling it. He knows where to be. And then Jacob Robinson has picked it up, obviously, tremendously well. And it's just been fun. Malik Moore had a great game. To your point, no deep balls over the top of them. So it's just really, really, I mean, I think safeties corners, you grade out an A. I don't know how much better you can get if you were to give them a grade. But as the defense coordinator, Jay Hill would say, they got a lot of room to improve on. So we keep them hungry.
Fast Eddie, Earl Carr, Kay Porter on YouTube with us tonight. Thanks, guys. Good to have you back. You mentioned the offense a moment ago and some of the things you didn't like. L.J. Martin is somebody that everybody likes. A freshman comes in. He gets 16 carries all in the second half, all in the last 19 minutes of the game. It finishes with 91 yards in his BYU debut. What did you think of L.J. and how valuable or how important is it for Harvey Unga and the guys to make sure that Robbins and Smith still have their opportunities despite the fact that when they were running, the line wasn't blocking?
Yeah. I mean, the Aiden, Robbins, and Dion, they'll still have opportunities. But I will say that LJ brought in kind of a different look than those other two brought in. He was able to make guys miss, which the other two weren't doing. And so he brought in a little bit of a spark. And once again, who knows if that's attributed to the fact that he came in later in the game when BYU's offensive line had kind of grinded on Sam Houston, kind of ground him down a little bit and made him exhausted. But it was impressive. And listen, he comes from Texas. All great players come from Texas.
Here we go.
I knew that was coming.
In all seriousness, though, he's come from, in Texas, you're playing against some of the best kids in the country. And so he's come prepared. And he came out there and credit to Harvey Unga, because this is a kid you just had during camp. To have him ready and prepared to carry the ball that many times and perform the way he did, that's coaching. And credit to LJ as well. Obviously, credit goes both ways. But man, that was fun to watch. And as we know, you can never have too many running backs. And the fact that you can go 2 plays and get a breather and go hard as a running back, man, that's a luxury. And so, yeah, huge game by him. I'm interested to see how Harvey juggles that running back room this week. I would assume that the veteran and Robbins still gets the start and gets the bulk of the carries. But when you got LJ, back there having the performance he just had, it'd be hard to keep him on the bench. I'd be surprised if you don't see him, in the first, second quarter with some touches early.
Yeah, I think we're going to see all 3 of them again, and that's good. Like you said, you have fresh legs and depth, 3 good guys, and I'm betting that the production from Smith and from Aiden Robbins is even more.
Yeah.
What do you want? Like the defense, hey, I know we've talked about it. We just want to see another shutout and some more sacks. That's all we want. We can't ask for more than 3 interceptions. Maybe they force a fumble this week, because we haven't seen that yet. But we're not going to be too picky about that defense. If they did exactly what they did last week, we'd all be really, really happy. But what about the offense, on the offensive side? What would you measure as success for this offense against Southern Utah this Saturday?
For me, obviously, when you look at the stats, I would love to see 150 yards rushing, where they just dominate the line of scrimmage. That's what I want to see. I want to see a surge. I want to see Kingsley 7 yards down the field, taking one of their DNs and just plowing them into the ground, right? I want to see Connor Pay just finishing blocks, just see dominance. And then that's what we expect from this offensive line. I think that's why everyone's so disappointed, is because you knew you had so many guys coming back, and you had transfers come in that had great experience. And so we expected them to gel. And I think maybe we had too high of expectations, frankly. I think it's going to take a game or 2 for these guys to gel and to really, just be great at what they need to do. And I feel like we didn't quite see that. And that's where everyone feels a little let down. We thought we'd see the offensive line dominate more than it did, which would have resulted in a better run game. And I don't know if it necessarily helps in the pass game. I feel like Keaton Slovis wasn't pressured a lot. He was just missing his throws a little bit. And some of that, I think, with Keaton maybe was some nerves. But once this offense is clicking, we know it has the potential. It's just, can we get them there sooner than we had hoped? Because after this week, there's, you got Arkansas on the road, and these get real fast.
Does no Cody Epps and no Keanu Hill have an impact? And we've talked about that. Is that getting those guys back? Is that a boost for this offense that we'll see?
There's no question. And I think maybe we underestimate the importance of them as well, frankly. You look at Keanu Hill, big, deep threat, big body. I mean, you go back and watch the film from last year, and we've been breaking it down on AFR for the whole month of August, all of his highlights. But the guy's just a massive target. I mean, you can throw the ball up, and he'll just go up and get it. And the way that he's able to hold guys off and create that separation, it's tough to replicate with any other guys. And then Cody Epps, I mean, he can turn a quick little 3-yard hitch into a huge gain, and the way he's able to move. And I think beyond that, just their leadership. Those are two guys that have been around the program for a long time, and I think they bring some type of sense of confidence and calmness to the offense. Some veteran guys, like you said, some familiar faces for that offense. Frankly, even Aaron Roderick, the offensive play caller, I think he finds some comfort in knowing that they're out there. And so I think if they're out there, I think this game plan obviously changes with them out there. But I think that also I think the rhythm that everyone hoped the offense would get into, if you can complete a couple deep balls and let them go vertical, hopefully that will kind of spark this offense. That's what they need. They just need some type of spark, because that's what was lacking on Saturday. It's 3 and out, 4 and out, maybe get one first down, but then stall out. And it's just, they couldn't put drives together. And so beyond that first drive. So we'll see kind of how those guys can provide that much needed spark.
BYU TV football analyst David Nixon on the Wise Guys tonight. You can see him and the rest of the gang Saturday at 11 a.m. Mountain Time on BYU SportsNation GameDay, ahead of BYU in Southern Utah at 1 o'clock on ESPN+. Plus, 2 more questions for you, and we sure appreciate your time tonight. Your brother-in-law, Taysom Hill, and the Saints open the NFL season Sunday at home against the Titans. So what's Taysom saying about his role this season, and also playing alongside BYU's all-time leading rusher, Jamal Williams, for the first time since they were playing here in Provo?
Yeah, I've talked to him about it. He said Jamal's still Jamal, and he's just the best. Those two are having a great time. And Taysom got banged up a little bit in camp, and so he's been taken out the last few weeks, getting ready for the season. They kind of just said, listen, we know what you bring to the table. There's no reason for you to kind of fight through an injury. Let's get you healthy. So he's getting ready. I mean, game prep this week. It's game week for those guys. Feels like it's been a long time coming. But talking to him, he's pretty excited. Another year, you get through training camp, and that's the thing. This is finally, as an NFL player, you get to this week where you finally start prepping for a team, and you don't have to bang against your own guys. It's the best feeling ever. And now you start getting some type of rhythm as far as now you have your meetings and everything that you're used to having. So I think he's honestly pretty excited. We'll see what happens with Jamal. I mean, with Alvin Kamara out for the first 3 games suspended, I think you'll see a heavy dose of Jamal back there. And who knows, maybe we'll see the old right option with Taysom and Jamal in the back.
How fun would that be?
I drafted Jamal. So when they do that, I want Taysom to give the ball to him, whereas in years past, I would say, never give it up. Just run it into the end zone. But it's going to be fun to see those two together on Sunday. And why wouldn't you put Taysom in at the 2-yard line to run that play you just mentioned, David? It's the guy who scored more touchdowns than anybody last year in the NFL, and a quarterback no one can stop.
And we had a question from one of the folks on the chat where they said, hey, when the offense just needs 1 foot for a touchdown or a first down, is there any blocking scheme, or is it just brute strength down in the trenches? BYU seemed to have trouble with that last year as well, touchdowns as well as short yards. One of the solutions is you put somebody in a quarterback that is a threat, because you always have one less blocker on offense when you have a traditional quarterback in there. Yeah. Because the quarterback hands it off and then typically stands there and watch. Like I said that like I was disgusted. That's exactly what I used to do. But so when you put a quarterback in there like Taysom Hill, who's also a run threat, now you've got the right number of people to block everybody. You still have one less, because the guy with the ball doesn't block, right? Yeah. But when you have a traditional quarterback in the game, you have 2 unblocked players, because you have the guy that's carrying the ball and you have the guy that handed him the ball. And so you've got to scheme and try to get numbers, and your guys have to come out lower than the other guys. There's just so much to it. But I will say this, if your quarterback is a running threat, when Taysom Hill's at quarterback, you have a much higher percentage chance to convert on short yardage or down on the goal line, right, Dave?
It's so tough. It's so tough to defend a guy like Taysom, because not only is he fast, but he's huge too. I mean, he's a big dude, 235, and he has low pad level. We always talk about pad level. He's got fantastic pad level to where he'll lower his shoulders and reduce his surface area. Good luck trying to bring him down. So 100%. I think you'll see a lot of Taysom and Jamal, especially, like I said, until Kamara gets back. But it's gonna be exciting. I got my NFL Sunday ticket ready to rock and roll.
Hey, your Little League team's coming off a rough weekend, and you're at practice today. How are the boys responding?
No, we won.
I thought you won. I thought you got beat. Was
No,
that the
that's
week
2 weeks
before?
ago.
2 weeks
Oh,
ago.
2 weeks ago. So it bounced
We
back.
lost.
Bounce back.
We're 2-1. We lost 2 weeks ago, 14-7, but we won this last week, 34-0.
Okay,
So
good.
Oh.
All right.
we
So
pitched,
good.
we pitched a shutout. We got to go get him donuts at some point. I got to probably run to the store and get some donuts.
My question is, I'm looking at the inside of that beautiful, luxurious car.
a nice Skyline.
And my thinking is this part of your NIL deal as a coach? Like as a little league coach, your NIL deal, you get a Range Rover, or what's the deal on this?
That's what I was in it's my contract. I told him we got to adhere to the contract. So that's what I put in there.
Hey, go get the donuts. Be good to the kids, and we'll see you Saturday.
Yeah, we'll see you Saturday.
Love it. Can't wait. Thanks, guys.
David
Nick.
Nixon, great linebacker and a great colleague of ours on BYU TV.